everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. I'm excited to talk about Gestalt theory. It's a very interesting one, just like its founder, Fritz Perls. He is a character, so I hope you enjoy. I do want to preface, I apologize for any sounds you might hear. I've got two dogs that are really wanting my attention right now. They got new bones, so hopefully they'll be preoccupied for a little bit. What does the word Gestalt mean? It's an arrangement that cannot be properly defined or considered separate from its parts. Gestalt psychology is defined as the study of the mind's tendency to self-organize and perceive the world holistically, despite its chaotic nature. And the word Gestalt is a German word meaning shape or form. Gestalt therapy first began as a scientific psychology study by Kurt Goldstein and Kurt Lewin. This was first developed in Frankfurt, Germany in the 1930s. Then in 1940s and 1950s in the US, Gestalt turned more into a therapeutic approach. And this is where Fritz Perls comes into the story and begins writing and promoting Gestalt as a therapeutic approach. These are two of the books that he has. He's got quite a few. These are just two of them here. Later, in 1951, the first Gestalt Institute was established. There are quite a few institutes around the states, but the first was 1951. Frederick Solomon Perls, or Fritz Perls, was the main originator of Gestalt therapy as it is today. Perls, a German-born psychiatrist, found Gestalt therapy in the 1940s with his wife Laura. Perls was trained in traditional psychoanalysis, but was dissatisfied with some of the Freudian theories, which led him to develop his own system of psychotherapy. Perls developed most of the techniques of Gestalt therapy in the United States and helped establish Gestalt institutes in various parts of the country. Many of his designs have been incorporated into eclectic approaches to psychotherapy. Fritz was born in 1893 in Berlin. He served the army during World War I. After the war, Perl studied medicine and began treating soldiers with brain injuries. He was drawn to the work of Sigmund Freud as a teenager, and his experiences treating patients pulled him a little further down the path toward Freudian psychoanalysis. He studied in the Berlin Institute of Psychoanalysis in Vienna. In the 1930s, Perls married Laura Perls. The couple had two children and fled the Hitler regime by relocating to South Africa in 1933. In 1946, the Perls family moved to Manhattan, New York, where Perls met and began working with Paul Goodman in 1951. In collaboration with Ralph Hefferline, Goodman and Perls produced the book Gestalt Therapy, Excitement, Growth in the Human Personality. Perls took a more holistic approach, not focused heavily on the past, kind of like Freud did. He focused more on the present moment. Perls concluded that how individuals behave in the present moment is far more important than why they behave the way they do. His goals and agendas in therapy was to assist the clients to move from environmental support to self-support and integrate the disowned parts of their personalities. Perls did this in his own way and was coined the master of frustrating clients to increase their awareness. We'll get a little sneak peek of this when we watch the Gloria video and how and why he is called the master of frustration. One quote from his book, Gestalt therapy verbatim that I find very interesting, hanging here in his office I have created, is I do my thing and you do your thing. I am not in this world to give up to your expectations, and you are not in the world to live up to mine. You are you, and I am I. And if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful. If not, can't be helped. Fritz, from what I read, just doing a little research for this presentation, is a tad dramatic of a guy, maybe a little intense. I think he was involved in theater at one point, not positive. Didn't look too far into that. He is just very interesting. Gestalt theory was not named after its founders, like some of the previous theories we've been discussing in class. Gestalt therapy instead is named after the goals of the therapy, in this case, to aid clients in the integration of personality through self awareness, choice, and responsibility. Gestalt therapy is created on the premise that individuals must be understood in the context of their ongoing relationship with the environment. And the basic assumptions of Gestalt therapy is that individuals have the capacity to self regulate when they are aware of what is happening in and around them. And some of the key components, of course, self awareness, the big one, choice, and then responsibility. This picture I have here, this is of Fritz Perls. It was done by Otto Dix, I believe, who did this painting. I just really like it. It's awesome. So the initial goal therapy is for clients to expand on their awareness. Awareness is key, like I said, and what they experience in the present moment. Through this awareness, it is believed that clients can have automatic change, and attention to language and tone is very important, body language as well. Um, to accept responsibility, they learn to use language that reflects the sense of personal ownership rather than focusing on others. The use of I statements is very important as well. So, modern Gestalt therapy, the more contemporary Gestalt therapy used today, is less frustrating for the clients. And you'll see what I mean by frustrating when we watch the Gloria video, like I said. However, certain techniques and experiments, as I say, used in therapy today can frustrate clients, like the confrontation part. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So, this more contemporary model focuses on support and increased sensitivity, compassion, and the confrontation. It's more of a fluffy cloud model compared to the way Fritz did it. The theory emphasizes support, acceptance, empathy, respect, and dialogue. This is a lively and engaging therapy. There's a lot of things done in this therapy that are very theatrical, very involved, very present moment. Gestalt therapists value being present, fully present during the sessions as well, and having the belief that growth occurs from that genuine contact between client and therapist, that I thou relationship. Gestalt therapy is existential, phenomenological, I think I said it right, and process based. As I mentioned in the beginning, Gestalt psychology is defined as the study of the mind's tendency to self organize and perceive the world holistically, despite its chaotic nature, which kind of gives off a very existential vibe. This is because Gestalt therapy is very existential and is grounded in the idea that people are always in the process of becoming, remaking, rediscovering themselves. Gestalt therapy places significant importance on the existence here and now and how individuals experience it through interpersonal contact and insight, that awareness. The phenomenological, see now I messed it up this time, the phenomenological aspect as it focuses on the client's perception of reality. And then the process-based approach because there's much more of a focus on the process over the content that is set within sessions. This process involves Gestalt therapists putting themselves as fully as possible into the experience of the client without judgment, analysis, interpretation, while still holding their own independent presence. What causes suffering for individuals based on this theory? So, Gestalt theorists believe that individuals experience suffering through disturbance in equilibrium. So, orgasmic self, or I just butchered that, is a process by which equilibrium is disturbed by the emergence of a need, sensation, or interest. In this, they will do their best to regulate themselves given their capabilities and the resources of their environment, sometimes resulting in maladaptive behaviors, the suffering part. So, therefore, the goal of Gestalt is to help clients move toward this equilibrium and towards change. So, contact and resistance to contact in Gestalt therapy. Contact is necessary for growth and change based on this theory. Contact is made by seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and moving. That's that lively part of the therapy, the very involved senses and the present moment. Contact is, to do this, the client has to have clear awareness, full energy, and the ability to express themselves. So, the resistance to contact are developed as coping mechanisms. However, these often lead to maladaptive behaviors. These are known as contact boundary phenomena, and there are 5 of them listed here. The introjection, projection, retroflexion, deflection, and confluence. So the introjection is taking in or trying to swallow an experience whole without questioning, like being naive or gullible, just accepting it exactly like it is, not questioning at all. Projection, most of you have probably heard of this one. I think it's a Freudian one too. It is to blame or attribute your own disowned feelings and desires to another person. Retroflexion is doing to yourself what you want to do to others or what you want others to do to you. An example of this would be avoiding saying what you want to say when you're angry just to avoid conflict. Deflection would be changing the subject when you're uncomfortable, making jokes, or using sarcasm to diffuse a serious situation by ignoring or refusing a compliment. And confluence, agreeing with others to avoid conflict, like peer pressure. All of these make genuine contact very difficult and don't allow the client to be in the present moment because they are worried about the uncomfortable feeling they have and trying to get out of that. This is where the confrontation comes in. Okay, so now I want to share a little bit about how confrontation is used in Gestalt therapy. The type of confrontation used in modern Gestalt therapy is not your tell it like it is type of confrontation. It's not aggressive, kind of like Pearls is or was with it. It's a more gentle, supportive, and kind approach. Confrontation is set up in a way that invites clients to examine their behaviors, attitudes, and thoughts. Counselors can assist clients in a to look at certain incongruities, specifically gaps between their verbal and nonverbal expressions. So I have here in the slide, the therapist is saying to the client. I can't help but notice you crossed your arms when you began talking about your coworker. So this is something that would be used in the therapy. They would talk, they would point out to the client their body language or the things that they're saying that doesn't line up with what they're saying to make them aware of what they're experiencing in that moment. But not all confrontation is about body language or verbal expression, but confrontation can also be used to challenge clients to recognize how they may be blocking their own strengths. So a therapist can point out to a client, why don't you do this? Or I notice that you have this ability, but you don't seem to be using it. That kind of strength based approach. Okay, so here are some common therapy techniques used in Gestalt therapy. We've got internal dialogue. This technique aids the client in integrating and accepting certain aspects of the personality that they have disowned or denied. The empty chair technique. This one's interesting. I like this one a lot. This technique involves the client being seated across from an empty chair and imagining that they are speaking to another person or themselves. So the client communicates their thoughts and their feelings and emotions to the individual in the chair. Then they switch chairs and respond to the other chair. This technique can aid the client in fully engaging in the conflict they may be experiencing by helping them get in touch with the feelings or a side of themselves that they may be denying. This seems a little odd. I'm not gonna lie. This I would be a little taken back if I was asked to do this in a session, but I do think it could be very helpful to be in that moment, to say the things that you want to say, to feel those feelings. It could be a very helpful technique. Making the rounds is another one. This exercise involves going up to others in a group and speaking to them, doing something with each person in the group. The purpose of this is to confront a risk, to disclose the self, to experiment with new behavior, and ultimately grow and change from that experience. And that's another thing that's probably very uncomfortable for people if they're asked to do that. But it can facilitate the new behavior and growth and change. Rehearsal exercise. This is this one may be one that you've heard before too. It's the role play exercise. This experience is designed to help clients to make contact with parts of themselves that they have been denying. This technique can help clients begin to accept certain personality attributes that they have tried to deny. I have used this one in my current work with my clients. I think this is very good. This is kind of similar to the empty chair technique, where you kind of are speaking to or pretending, doing a theatric, but it kind of helps practice what you need to say, what you want to say, gives you kind of that confidence to start moving towards doing those things that you want to do. I've seen this work. The exaggeration exercise. So this exercise is done where the client's asked to repeat or exaggerate a particular movement or expression, such as frowning or bouncing a leg, to make the person more aware of the emotion attached to the behavior. This one's another interesting, like all of these techniques are very, very interesting. Like, I would be a little taken back. So, this one, you're exaggerating your emotions so that you can become more aware of exaggerating your um, body language so you can be more aware of the behavior or the emotion associated with the behavior. So, Become more aware of the subtle signs and cues that you're sending through your body language by exaggerating these. Staying with the feeling is another one. So, staying with the feeling is urging clients to stay with their emotions, to encourage them to go deeper into the feeling or behavior they wish to avoid. Facing and experiencing feelings not only takes courage, but also is a mark of willingness to endure the pain necessary for unblocking that emotion. That one's hard. Um, that takes practice, but again, very help. I do feel like that is very helpful to be in the moment, feeling that emotion, knowing that you can do it, and that way when it happens again, you're prepared. You know what it feels like. You've sat with it. So those are just some of them. There are more, but these are a few that I found. So let's do a little activity. Found this one online. It's called the I can't substitute technique. So this technique can be implemented to help a client recognize and increase his or her awareness of the difference between can't and won't statements. So we'll start. Try to recall some other can't statement that you use often. Repeat them slowly to yourself and notice the feelings that accompany them. Kind of like sitting with those feelings. So, can't statements that you say to yourself often. You may recognize that there are some things on your list that you actually cannot do, but see if you can tell the difference between the types of can't statements. Are there some you could do if you invested the time and energy it would require? And focus on the other can't statements. Repeat them a few times and try substituting them with won't, where you said can't. And would that make it feel different? Now repeat one of the won't statements again and be aware of the feeling that comes with it. Are you taking the responsibility that is a part of saying, I won't? Try to get in touch with the nature of your refusal. Allow the refusal to expand. Feel the strength that is in it. Compare how you feel when making a won't statement to how you feel when making a can't statement. The difference is your sense of responsibility for your behavior. So this one I feel brings in, let's go back, a few of these techniques or the interventions that we discussed here. So it has some of the staying with the feeling for sure, to feel what it feels like to say can't versus won't. It's a rehearsal exercise. And an internal dialogue. So this exercise brings in quite a few of those techniques that we talked about. I just thought this one was good because it helps us just kind of think about, the things that we can and the things that we won't and what that feels like and how we can work towards change with those things. All right. So here's my reference list. There is quite a bit more to this theory. This is just a little bit of it, but it is very cool, and I hope you found this to be interesting. I will put a handout up with my presentation got a few resources on there if you want to check them out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to show you my next slide. I was very proud of it. So thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. There is much more to Gestalt therapy. If you are interested in learning more, check out my posted handout. I have a few good resources listed, and enjoy this picture of me hanging out with friends at the park. Thanks.